Hey everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. You're listening to PHLY Flyers. That's right, PHLY. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. No woo tonight. It was fun while it lasted. The 5-game winning streak has come to an end.
We're rebuilding again.
Now
the tank.
The tank is back on because Ilya Sorokin really showed up tonight, and the Flyers didn't in the first 10 minutes. And that's basically what was the difference between the game. I am joined tonight live in studio. That's right, we have him. We're not letting him leave. Philadelphia's #1 beat reporter, Charlie O'Connor.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Oh, wow, you talked, and I heard you right away the first time.
Oh, yeah. There is
nice.
that delay.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, we'll be back. I'll be back in the arena for Friday's game, and then Saturday's game is obviously our watch party. Figure out exactly what we're going to do. But it's good to be here with you. Good to break down this game. Unfortunately, we're not breaking down the 6th straight win by the Flyers. We're breaking down their first loss in quite a while. But honestly, it's a game where there's a lot to talk about because I didn't think they played terribly the entire game.
They weren't bad.
It was honestly, and I go back to the games when they were losing all the games in October. Into early November, and I talked about how some of those games were like the ideal tank losses where they played pretty well, outchanced the other team, still lost. I was like, these are perfect. These like good process, bad result type games. I don't know if this one quite qualifies as that though, because if you look at the numbers, like they dominated. If you look at the advanced metrics, like going through here. 81 shot attempts, all situations. That's a full season high. If you're looking at 5-on-5, 59% Corsi, 58% expected goal percentage per natural stat trick. So by the numbers, you would say Flyers should have won this game. If you're watching it, though, I don't think that was quite the way it played out, just because when the Flyers were bad, they were real bad.
That's the end when I don't want to dive in. Okay, let's discuss score effects for 18 minutes. But when you are trailing for the minute 50 mark on, you're probably going to turn it up at different points. And the Islanders are the team. Like, they're the team that gets beat on the analytics. And when they win games, it's like, how the hell did they win? They had 22 shots. Or
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, they have Ilya Sorokin.
Yeah, and there's that. And that's basically what happened. And we're going to get into Sorokin in a minute. But one thing I will say about, like, my first reaction to this game, and maybe it's a little self-serving, is it was a grind. There was some big hits, a little bit of bad blood.
A little bit.
I think this bodes well, while it is an Islanders game on Saturday for our watch party. This bodes well for what could be an entertaining game. Only a few days in between games.
True.
Everyone's going to be mad that they have to work on a holiday. I think we might see a little bit of fireworks on Saturday. So if you haven't registered to come out to the watch party at New Wave Cafe, do it. It's going to be a great time. And you see how I worked in analysis and a plug.
I love that. You're a pro, Brill. You are an absolute pro.
My actual reaction to the game is, I won't say they got goal lead. Like, that's not all that happened. They're like you said, when they were bad, like there were just way too many shifts where it was, what are they doing in their own?
Exactly.
They can't make a breakout pass, just a single one. No,
yeah.
They got stuck in their own end too much. They could have gone to the net and made life tougher for Sorokin earlier in the game. There's a lot they could have done, but this was kind of your prototypical. And the Islanders stink. They have, at least to this point.
So far this year,
they've only won 2 of their last 10 coming into tonight. They were 2-4-4.
Yeah.
They played nothing but 1-goal games. Not shocking to me, the final score tonight.
Yeah, and also that's them.
Yeah,
they don't score a lot of goals. Like, they don't give up a lot of goals.
This is who the Islanders are. When they win, this is what it looks like. You go, how didn't we? Really? We just couldn't. And
that's Islanders hockey.
And that's Islanders. It takes me back to that playoff series. Like, the Flyers were better tonight than I think they were on the whole in that playoff series. But just like when you do break through, because they had a lot of shots on goal, it's like, and Sorokin's there. Yeah. And they plenty of times where they just got denied in the slot. There were things that they could have made a little more out of, but this is what the Islanders do. And I guess if we're going to, because we started, okay, it's the rebuild's back on, the playoffs are dead. My first question is, how are we evaluating and assessing this team right now? Because part of me is like, yo, they're rebuilding. we've said from the very beginning when they started out winning a few games, when they bring their A game, they have a chance to win.
Yeah.
When they don't, they are going to lose. I think tonight was a little bit of a mixed bag. It wasn't that perfect loss like you laid out. But also, I'm starting to judge them as a team that seriously has a chance to make the playoffs. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving Eve to all of you out there. Thank you for joining us. If you're not at a bar tonight, joining us live, very much appreciated.
And if you are at a bar tonight, maybe you could be watching us hours later. You're in bed. It's 1 a.m. You're a little drunk. You want to watch the postgame of the Flyers.
Man, I just imagine being like 24. You go out the night before Thanksgiving, and then you come home and you're in bed with me and you. Ooh, that's a.
Oh my God!
I'm sorry.
There's a lot of directions we can take. That.
I'm sorry tonight didn't work out for you. If you're listening to this at 1 a.m.
Godspeed.
But anyway, I kind of am assessing them as if they are a team with a chance to make the playoffs. And tonight, maybe it's unfair because we know what this is. I'm a little disappointed. Like, I looked at, and listen, Farabee scores the goal late and everything, but they show us that statistic at one point in the game, and it's like, well, this is pretty good. Guys 24, 25 and under, they lead the league in goals by players of that age.
They showed it on the broadcast. You're right.
Through 50 minutes of this game, Farabee, Tippett, Forster, Cates, and Brink combined for 2 shots on goal. I know it's not fair to ask everything of those guys, but if this is going to be a team that makes the playoffs, they have to do more than nothing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think kind of where I'm at is that, look, as long as they are in the playoff mix, as long as their underlying numbers show me that they could be a playoff team, and as long as they are standings-wise, they're right there, I'm going to treat them as if I need to take their playoff hope seriously. And what comes with that is being hard on them when they struggle.
I have some bad news. Maybe some people have already seen it, but I just refreshed the standings. A bunch of Metro games started at 7 tonight, so we had results before the end of the Flyers game. The Flyers are percentage points out of the second wild card spot, with tomorrow being Thanksgiving. There are no games. The in a playoff spot on Thanksgiving no longer applies to this team. That's a little bit of a bummer. Like,
it is.
It was a fun little narrative, I really thought there was even if they lose tonight, the Islanders, half their games go to overtime. They'll get a loser
point out of it.
Yeah, they'll get a loser point, and we'll at least have that to go with. But no, the Flyers and Detroit Red Wings both have 21 points. The Detroit has a game in hand, so they are technically ahead of the Flyers. They have a .583 points percentage. Flyers are .553.
But no, you know what? Where I'm at is that the Flyers, over this first month and change, they have earned the right. I'm not saying this is going to last forever, but so far they've earned the right for me to treat these playoff hopes seriously. Now, maybe
they've earned the right for me to criticize.
Exactly. They've earned the right for me to be like, no, losses aren't necessarily great. And that's honestly a credit to them, because I came into the season not expecting to be holding them to that standard. I'm going to hold them to that standard as long as they appear to resemble a playoff caliber team. Now, again, if 4 weeks down the road they are in the basement of the Metro, then I will stop doing that, and I will revert back to the way I treated them in October. But they've played well enough, both in the standings and both in terms of their underlying play and passing the eye test, that I'm going to start holding them to a higher standard. And that means in a game like this, I have to say, where were you guys in the first period? Most of the first period.
And that's really what it comes down to. We all know how good the Flyers have been in the first period. They lead the league in first period goals. At least they did coming into tonight. When they score first, what are they, 9-0? What's their record when they don't lose when they score first?
So now it is, when they score first, they are 10-1-0. When they don't, they are 0-7-1. Now, I am generally not a fan of those kinds of stats. There's a reason why I don't cite them often in my stories. That is a pretty dramatic discrepancy, and it does. Look, the Islanders are a special case,
and
especially.
It speaks to what kind of, I think it's a lot like our face-off conversation, where it's overall face-off percentage probably doesn't matter that much. It's just the same as any puck battle. It's probably going to end up being around 50-50.
Right.
But in special situations, like say special teams, it matters more.
Yeah.
Against the Islanders don't score. They don't score when like their whole strategy is let us please just get up 1-0.
Yeah.
And then Sorokin closes the door.
Yeah. Then we're going to tighten it up even more than we do normally. And we're going to trust that our all-world goalie makes enough stops to get us a win. And that's what happened. The Flyers could not do what they did tonight, which was the first 10 minutes. They just were kind of there. They were playing, but not really. And honestly, it's funny because they have gotten so many first period goals. But I don't know if I would call them a great first period team. A lot of those
goals are then what sparks them to they're not playing great. They score, and then suddenly they take over the rest of the first period, and you go, oh, nice first period.
Or they come later in the period.
Yeah.
In all honesty, if there's one thing I could point to as to why they've been a good first period team so far, honestly, more than anything, I think it's been Carter Hart. Because Carter Hart in a lot of first periods has kept them in games. Even Ersson did it a couple of times. They've kept them in games, the goalies have, and given them a chance to get going. And what happened in this game was, and we'll get into this a little bit later, Marc Staal and Igor Zamula had a terrible shift, and Carter Hart gives up a goal that, like, I don't think it's a bad goal because the guy's uncontested next to him, along the post. Maybe you hope Hart can hold that post, but it's not a terrible goal. It's just like,
and look who scored it.
You'd like a little bit of help from your defense, and they got zero help from Staal and Zamula.
I want Hart to make that save. I want him to shut that down. But that goal is scored on the lost puck battle.
Exactly.
Like that's what made it happen.
It's scored because Staal turns the puck over. Zamula's late getting to the post. And not only fine. Staal turns the puck over. Lee's going to get one crack at the post. That's fair. Zamula just kind of skates in. Like Zamula should be at least physically engaging Anders Lee on the second attempt, not just letting him do whatever the hell he wants.
It's a goal scored in the crease. Dude should not, even if he scores it, dude shouldn't be on his feet after it goes in.
The only reason why I'll say maybe that would be a little much is because it is Anders Lee.
No, Zamula is not huge, and Anders.
But at the very least, you want to make him a little uncomfortable.
Yeah. Listen, at that point, cross-check him. Yeah. Take the penalty, do whatever.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't, engage him in some way. There has to be something.
But I do think, though, that this Flyers team, and this speaks to what you were saying about how do we assess this team. They lost a game a month ago. We would have been like, whatever, they lost. They outshot them, outchanced them. No big deal. It's a rebuild. Now they lose a game. We're frustrated. It does speak to, I think, that for this Flyers team, given everything we've talked about them in terms of their talent limitations, they don't have the super high-end players. They get by on outworking other teams. They, more than most teams, I think, need to get that first goal. They need to get a lead because they need to get the other team to play the Flyers way rather than the Flyers. Like, the Flyers aren't talented enough to regularly win playing the other team's preferred style.
It has to be their kind of game, and tonight was very clearly an Islanders type of game.
100% an Islanders game.
When I start seeing the let's just kind of flip the puck into the neutral zone, I have the flashbacks of the bubble playoff series where that was the breakout strategy.
Yeah.
It was like the only way we really have is to let's create a puck battle in the open ice and see if we can get behind them from there, because there was no two crisp passes break out through the neutral zone.
And they couldn't.
And that's it. I started seeing that a little tonight, and it's just like, man, that's the Islanders. Part of me is disappointed in what we saw tonight, mostly because of the effort in the first 10 minutes, and then Sorokin just closes the door. Sorokin off to a slow start statistically, especially for him.
But really just a slow start in general.
Yeah, if you look at it, last year I think he should have won the Vezina. Olmark's numbers were awesome. So too were his backups. Yeah, and he played half the games.
Boston was an incredible team.
He played half the games.
Yeah.
Sorokin's great. Not off to a great start this year. His career numbers against the Flyers are fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, he kills the Flyers.
He is insane.
This is another stat where I don't usually get behind the goalie against team. But I do think there might be something to be said about a goalie just feeling like, man, I got this team's friggin' number.
And when it's a dude has 10 years in the league and he's been through 3 different iterations of a team, it's like, well, who cares?
Yeah.
But it's not like Sorokin's been around forever.
Yeah, true,
These are the Flyers he's been playing.
Yeah.
And he dominates them. He's like 9-2-1 now. His goals against coming in was 160, 950. Like, he just kills them.
Yeah.
And that's what it came down to tonight. But if you have a just not even better offensive performance, just a little bit more of that structure, a little bit of that more. We're going to impose our will in the first 10 minutes.
Agreed.
It's a different game, and they just weren't able to do it. I'm talking about the Flyers structure. This was a game of structure. I mean, it's the Islanders. It's structure versus structure here. I need a little bit of structure in my life.
Do you, Bill?
And that's where AG1 comes in. Our new partner is AG1, and they're the daily foundational nutritional supplement that supports whole body health. I drink it literally every day. I gave AG1 a try because, as I've told you plenty of times before, my life pre-PHLY was routineless. My schedule was different every day. But now that I've got some normalcy back, I want to try to be just a tad healthier, and AG1 is a tremendous way to kick off my morning routine. I drink AG1 every morning to start my day, and it makes me feel like I'm doing something good for my body because I'm giving my body the nutrition it craves and just starting off on the right foot. 1 scoop of AG1 for me and a little bit of water, maybe even coffee, while I'm getting my dog's breakfast and medicine together before I've even taken a shower or anything. I think I've already accomplished something, and that sets me up to accomplish something for the rest of my day. I have a bunch of notes and statistics in the outline today because I actually worked before work today. Like I got everything together, had my AG1, and then sat down and like did some prep work for the show. And it all starts with accomplishing one thing, and then you go from there. And that's what I'm using AG1 for. If a comprehensive solution is what you need for your supplement routine, then try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/flyers. That's drinkag1.com/flyers to check it out. I don't think you'll be disappointed. And it is Kelly Hinkle approved. You're like, I'm going to take health advice from Bill. He doesn't look like he's going to make it through this show. I understand. But I am not the only one. Kelly Hinkle, who doesn't even get paid to support this stuff, she is an actual consumer of it. And she gives it the thumbs up.
Yeah, she's somebody who's running across the bridge every day.
She runs like 5Ks and all sorts of stuff that I don't even know what it is, but I hear about on Twitter. She's a healthy person.
If you don't trust Bill, trust Kelly.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we are with that. But we're talking about the like, how do we assess this team? I get the feeling now, like, they lose to the Islanders, who have been kind of hapless lately. They've taken, they've only won 2 of their last 10, but they're 2-4-4. Like,
yeah, they lose a lot of close games.
They lose in overtime a lot of close games, but they're not good. And I look at what happened with San Jose. This could just be another little way. Like, the Flyers have also earned a tiny bit of the benefit of the doubt for me.
I would agree with that.
Where I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility they beat the Rangers on Friday, who are legitimately good, maybe the best team in the East.
Yeah,
and then they have the Islanders again on Saturday. Come to our watch party.
Hey,
I don't want to overstate the importance of this one because I kind of expect them to pick it back up.
Yeah, well, you know what? When a team wins 5 straight games, they do deserve a little bit of slack.
Like,
just a little.
They weren't going to win 10 in a, like, I know they weren't going to win 10 in a row, and the Islanders weren't going to never win again. Yeah. They're a little desperate. They're at home. I guess I can kind of wave this one off and go, okay, well, let's see how it plays out. But also, show up in the first period.
Yeah. But give them credit. They pushed back in the second half of the first.
Yeah.
I thought the second period was And then the third period, I mean,
started out like shit, and I was like, "Oh, they're putting the clamps down."
They gave up that goal,
and then suddenly they took over.
They took over. They made it close. You know, you have the. We'll get into this a little bit later. You have the Joel Farabee, Bobby Brink connection pop up. Great goal by Joel Farabee, and they kept pushing. I mean, they almost scored the shift after that goal. Sorokin gave up like his one bad rebound of the game, and they just couldn't put it in.
I actually thought there were some rebounds tonight, but that one was the one time they actually had someone driving the net there to do it. Like I thought he made the saves. You can't say he wasn't good. Like, he was awesome. But I thought he was there to be had, but it was a lot of Yeah, the Islanders just clear the porch so well.
They do. They're very good at that. I want to transition real quick because we had a comment here from Scott Taylor, which is a very good segue into our next topic. Actually, like Scott Taylor, he's reading our minds here. Says, I think we could see a surprise scratch for next game. Lawton has not been very good lately. Not bad, but no impact. Forcer on the clock as well. I want to highlight that because Scott Lawton was benched for the final 17 minutes of the third period.
One shift in the third. They give up the goal. No more Scott Lawton.
Doesn't see the ice the rest of the game. Now, Scott Lawton, obviously a Tortorella favorite. He plays that Tortorella physical, high-effort style. I've thought Scott Lawton has had a fine start to the year. Hasn't scored a ton of goals, but I think he's been fine. However, it was pretty clear that tonight, John Tortorella was not happy with him. I thought that on the deflection goal, the first Brock Nelson goal, there were a lot of players on the ice that didn't shower themselves in glory. I thought Lawton was one of them. He was just kind of hovering around in front of Nelson, didn't really engage him. There were a couple guys who could have, but Lawton was certainly one of them. Then, to start the third period, they shake up the lines. They drop Lawton down to 4C with Delorier and with Hathaway. Very first shift, they give up a goal. Now, granted, my first instinct watching that goal was that it was more on Delorier than anyone else. I thought Delorier needs to be not puck watching, needs to deflect that pass. However, rewatching it, Lawton was a little late coming back into the zone. So maybe when you go over the X's and O's of that play, Tortorella looked at it and said, that's on Lawton. He needs to be better. He needs to have a higher effort level on that play. Or maybe it was more of a, like, you screwed up on the first one, on the last one. You better be busting your ass at every moment. And the fact that he didn't, it's like that was the last straw.
And that's, as much as I am a fan of Scott Lawton, if he's not busting his ass, he's just a guy out there.
Agreed.
And I hate to even make this comparison because it's two different worlds of players. But like what we're seeing in Columbus, where it's, Johnny Gaudreau is going to get benched for a third, and Patrick Laine, you're going to be a healthy scratch. Obviously, we're talking about star-level players, or at least star potential players, versus Scott Lawton, who in the best of times is a third-line player. But he's the coach's boy. He's the only one wearing a letter.
Right.
If you're going to send a message, we've joked a lot how, guess who's coming out? Morgan Frost.
Morgan Frost.
He's not in the lineup tonight, so you can't bench him.
Yeah.
If you're going to send a message, though, it's who is the least likely person to get benched? Oh, Scott Lawton. Well, he was.
We'll bench him,
This could be a little bit of message sending to everyone through one guy.
Yeah, it does definitely. Because, look, I've been critical at times this season about the inconsistent accountability, specifically in relation to Morgan Frost, whereas, he doesn't score a point in one game and immediately gets scratched. Some guys don't score a goal for 16 and stay in the lineup. Like, I do think there is an element of favoritism there with Tortorella, even as I, in general terms, think he's done a good job coaching this team. That said, with Lawton, if you bench Lawton for a third period, it does show that the accountability extends to everyone. And I think that, like, I'm a Scott Lawton fan. I think he's a good player. I think I had no problem with them keeping him for this year, even though I thought the Flyers should have, maybe made a couple more trades in the offseason. But I thought, you know what? He's a culture guy. I get it. You want the kids to develop in a positive environment. He will do that. That said, if Scott Lawton isn't pulling his weight, I don't think it's a bad thing that John Tortorella says, you know what, Scott? You're having a shit game. The effort level doesn't seem to be fully there. You're stapled to the bench. That works for me.
And I'm very much looking forward to it's a shame we don't have another live show. It's going to be all post games for the rest of the week.
Right.
Because the narrative of, see what happens when you don't trade these guys? Like, Scott Lawton's here. That's like, teams are offering a first-round pick. What the hell's the matter with you? And then all of a sudden, maybe his value decreases a little bit. People are going to start losing their minds, and then looking ahead to applying it to Sean Walker. I'm already seeing...
You're going like three-dimensional chess.
I'm already seeing how this is going to play out. But
I guess
to Scott Taylor's point,
yes,
he's benched in the third. Scott Lawton is. What are the chances you think he don't play Friday?
I would think they're pretty slim.
Right.
But by the same token,
they lost and Morgan Frost is on the bench.
Yeah, you lose a game, if they're going to bring Frost in, and I'm not saying they're going to, because, look, this is John Tortorella and Morgan Frost.
Morgan Frost might get waived.
Far from a guarantee
Who's to say?
that Morgan Frost comes back in. But if you want to bring Morgan Frost back in, they've been very happy with Ryan Poehling. I believe he picked up another secondary assist tonight on the York goal, I think. I believe
that is
I
the
believe
case.
he did. He's been fine. If they want to
from Tippett and Paling,
if they want to keep him in, Cates got bumped up more into a scoring role in that third period, with Lawton getting bumped down and then Lawton getting benched entirely. You know what? I don't think it's likely, but it's at least possible. If you just want to get Morgan Frost back in a game, maybe. We'll see.
It is a guy who can play center. It's a forward who plays in your top 9 a lot. That fits the description of a dude who could come out for Frost to get back in. I want to talk about Frost in a little bit because actually I have a mailbag question, a post-game mailbag question that pertains to Frost that I actually just found very entertaining. But I'm going to get to the line juggling in the third.
Okay.
Because the Lawton benching puts it in perspective. If a dude doesn't play, okay, things have to get moved around.
Sure.
So that's obvious. But I found it interesting because at the end of the second, we saw a shift with Noah Cates maybe on the wing. I thought maybe that would stick. But they
were juggling everything because you had the shift where Farabee and Brink scored, and this guy did a really good job on that shift. It was Garnet Hathaway. It was the centerless line. Garnet Hathaway makes a big hit.
3 guys who don't play center.
Yeah, I guess Farabee played center for a little bit a couple years ago.
They tried that.
They tried it. It didn't work. So I guess if you needed to, he could have taken a face off, but that's only happening if they get called for an icing and he's got to stay out there. They just were trying out new combos, and Hathaway made a really good hit on that play, kept the puck alive, and then obviously Brink and Farabee connect for a good goal. But it's clear that in the third period, Tortorella was just throwing shit at the wall and hoping it stuck.
Well, they just were having so much trouble breaking through, even when they were getting shots on. You mentioned, what did they have? 81 shot attempts, so many blocks, a bunch of misses. And I said this to you during the game. While I have been critical of how much the Flyers have missed the net, when it's Sorokin,
you should be picking corners.
What are you trying? I guess maybe the idea, if it's the goalie's that good, fuck it, just get it on. Who cares? Let's see if we can make something happen. But if you're trying to beat him with a shot, it's got to be a special shot.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess I can excuse it a little, but the coach has to be what can I do? I got to come up with something.
Yeah.
There's only so many ways for a coach to affect the game once the game starts. Line juggling is their option.
Exactly.
It's the only thing they can do.
Exactly.
So I get what they did, and it's not as if I guess elevating Paling to the level that they have. He's now being counted on as part of this offense.
Yeah, he was centering Tippett and Atkinson in the third period.
That's those your second and third leading goal scorers.
Yeah, right.
So what do you make of the regular elevation of Ryan Paling? We've gotten to this a little bit in contrast with Frost and with the Cates demotion at some points. What do you make of Ryan Paling as a dude here?
I think what I'll say is that in the short term, I think it's counterproductive and dumb because I just don't personally see that much offensive upside there. We talked about it, me and Bill talked about this before the game, about they were pumping up on the pregame and on the broadcast about how Ryan Paling had a 3-point night. And I was like, that's got to be the cheapest 3-point night I've ever seen. He has a deflected pass to Joel Farabee. He has a pass on the Cam York goal that was shot from the other side of the ice, the empty netter. And he scores
not even just shot from the other side of the ice.
Behind the net.
From behind the net off the glass. This was not even a full-length shot. It was a clear attempt that ended up in the net.
Yes, and then his goal is on a 2-on-0. And look, you still have to make the play, but if you don't score on a 2-on-0, it's what the hell, guys?
But
it was a 3-point night, but it wasn't an impressive 3-point night.
And it was his first 3-point night since his opening night hat trick.
But going back to my original point, in the short term, I don't think it's that smart. In the long, as a long-term fact-finding mission, I don't hate it because you want to find out what you have in these guys. I've been saying it all year. You want to find out what you have in Igor Zamula. You want to find out what you have in Bobby Brink. You want to find out what you have, in Morgan Frost, which is why I'm frustrated that he's not playing. But Ryan Paling is only 24 years old, and I am fine if you ultimately are going to have to make a decision. He's on a 1-year contract. They have RFA control, so they're not going to lose him for nothing necessarily unless they want to. But you need to figure out what you have in these guys before you make a decision on whether they could maybe be part of the future or not. So from a long-term planning standpoint, I don't have a problem with them giving Paling an extended opportunity in a scoring role to see if he can show.
If there's a little more there.
Yeah, if there's a little more there. If instead of just being a fourth line guy, if like, hey, if we trade Scott Lawton this offseason, could he be that guy? I don't personally see it, but like, I don't have a problem with them finding out. And this is a year where I've said from the start, it's about finding things out. So short term, I disagree with it. Long term, I don't have a problem.
And let us not forget, while Morgan Frost, I guess, while he hasn't really established himself, he did have one big scoring season last year. Yeah. Ryan Poehling was taken 2 picks ahead of Morgan Frost. Like, they have the same pedigree, at least in terms of pre-NHL career, and they're the same age.
Yeah.
They're both 24. I know we have talked so much about, well, let's just find out about Morgan Frost. I think they've found out all they want to.
I think you're probably right.
And now they want to find out about Poehling. Will he be a part of it? I don't know, but neither does the coach.
Right, exactly.
The coach already, like,
yeah,
I
the
don't
coach
know.
seems to know what he's.
I don't know about Morgan Frost, but the coach does.
Yeah, Torts seems
and
so.
Ryan Poehling is just another guy. Okay, let's find out about him. And so if he's going to get elevated sometimes, that's just going to be what it is. Calling all card collectors, Wheelhouse is our go-to sports card gift and apparel shop in the Delaware Valley. Their motto is cards and community because love of sports unites us all. They carry all your favorite card brands like Topps Chrome Baseball and Mosaic Football, as well as t-shirts, hats, and hoodies from brands like Mitchell & Ness, 47 Brand, Junk Food, Starter, and Shibe Vintage Sports. And if you're maybe looking to get your own sports card collection graded, Wheelhouse offers PSA grading submissions. They also host tons of different family-friendly events and birthday parties every month. You know, Friday, Black Friday coming up. You want to hit a brick and mortar store, Small Business Saturday, whatever it might be. I know we all love shopping online. It's a ton of fun. But if you hit either of their locations in Wayne or Westchester, which are open 7 days a week at 11 a.m., and use code PHLY in the store, you can get $10 off any purchase of $25 or more. And be sure to give them a follow on Instagram at Wheelhouse Cards. I do like... I don't always love going in a store, but there's something about, like, especially Team Apparel. Like, you want to see it.
Oh, yeah.
You want to make sure, like, it's the right quality. We'll have a read later about a apparel provider who supports us.
They do.
I got this shirt from a different apparel provider who you all know, and it is so off-center. It looks like I bought it in the parking lot outside of a WWE event. No, it came straight from the one you're all thinking of.
Yeah, that one.
So shop at the other place we're going to advertise
Yeah, exactly.
later.
No, but I remember when I was a kid, I would always, like, one of my favorite things to do when I was, like, between the ages of, like, 8 and 10 was when my mom would take me to the sports card store. And what I really loved, I don't know if you had them, I love the headliners, the hockey players with the big heads.
I had a bunch.
So many of those.
Oh, yeah.
And it would be like you go to the sports card store.
They weren't bobbleheads, but they were like the same.
Well, so what I would do, and this is like, I don't know if I'm the only one who did this, I basically like made a rink out of a piece of like board and then had like the little players playing hockey with a little puck.
Oh, that's outstanding.
I had so much fun.
It
was like all-star games that had like Gretzky and Forsberg, and then like Burger King had a promotion one time where they did all the
Burger
Flyers.
King had all the Flyers.
So I had all the Flyers players too.
They had like all the stars of the team and a Chris Gratton.
And
I requested the Chris Gratton when I was like in the drive-thru at Burger King. And my mom's like, what?
He's like, got to finish out the group.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So I guess we should get to the newsiest thing that happened in the game was I almost called him Morgan Staal.
The return of Marc.
Not Morgan Staal. Marc Staal. When we talk about guys who are in and out of the lineup, I just automatically go Morgan. But yes, Marc Staal comes back, and he is paired with Igor Zamula. And man, if Igor Zamula wasn't a candidate to come out of the lineup before tonight, he sure is now. They're keeping Belpedio up, and he is right-handed. Both of these guys who started tonight are left, and it sounds like they're pretty impressed. You get to do all the pregame stuff. Was there a concerted effort to make sure it was like Belpedio's not being benched. It's just like we have 7.
Well, I think I said on our show yesterday, or either that or I thought about it, like it very much did look like at the end of practice that Torts had a long conversation with Belpedio, more or less. Like, obviously we can't hear what they're saying, but it very much looked like the convo of, hey, kid, you played really well. We're real happy with you, but we're taking you out for this game because I got to get Marc Staal back in. But, like, this doesn't reflect poorly on, like, the way we view you and your play. You've done a great job.
Don't take this like, what did I fuck up?
Exactly. Like, it looked like one of those conversations. That said, look, whenever Marc Staal got back in the lineup, it was going to be ugly. Now, I was expecting Marc Staal in his first game back in the lineup to play like crap. I was, because he started out the season after a summer of not playing in games, playing like crap too. Then around like game 3 or 4, he started to settle in and started to look a little bit better. Then he got hurt. Now he's been out for 5 weeks. I was expecting him to struggle. I was not expecting Igor Zamula to struggle this much. And I'm not saying he was helped by Marc Staal, because he wasn't. But he looked real freaking bad.
There were just a few shifts where he had the puck on his stick in the defensive zone, and he looked like a dude in his first game.
Yeah.
Like, he looked basement Andre-esque, where it was like, do you know what you're looking for?
Yeah.
Like, that's what he's feeling it a little right now. I don't even know if a benching would be the worst thing in the world for him. Like, maybe I don't know, but maybe his confidence is just dipping because he's been up and down play lately. If it's Staal Belpedio on Friday, I don't hate it.
Yeah, and I know Ristolainen's getting close. So it's possible maybe that they bring Risto back in. The last practice, he wasn't wearing a non-contact jersey.
He's cleared
He's wearing
for contact.
the normal jersey, so it's possible that Ristolainen could be on the verge of a return. Maybe Zamula sits for him. Zamula, interestingly enough, and I kind of expected it to be the reverse, they actually had Staal, who is a lefty, on the right side. Zamula has significant experience on the right. He's actually played the right with the Flyers. He played the right a lot with the Phantoms last year because they were trying to kind of get him
had to find
acclimated.
Someone. They have no righties.
Exactly. And instead, they used Staal on the right. Staal did not look good on the right. But Zamula, presumably they did it because they wanted Zamula to be as comfortable as possible. So let's play him on his strong side. And he looked the opposite of comfortable. He looked like the worst he's been in weeks. And he's had some real bad games over those weeks.
It's a interesting decision. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, well, yeah, Igor Zamula, Cale Makar, what's the difference? But, like, if I'm going to put one of those two, Staal or Zamula, on the right, I'm going to do it with the one who's better with the puck. And to me, that's Zamula, like, just a little younger, a little more athletic.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It was an odd choice to me. No?
It surprised me. I was expecting it to be Staal Zamula. They did run the pairings in practice yesterday, but it was kind of hard to tell with the way that they ran the pairings, because it was like an in. They basically launched them within the middle of the shift. So it was tough to tell who was on the left, who was on the right. It was abundantly clear during the game that Staal was on the right. Look, if they flip-flop them, I don't think it matters. No, I think they struggle anyway.
They weren't. Like, the mistakes they made, like, yeah, I did see one fumble at the blue line by Staal, and it's like, yeah, he's on his backhand. He's trying to turn his body. It's odd. But those weren't the plays that resulted in the most disastrous stuff. It was just their lack of ability to execute in the defensive end.
Yeah, and I think, as I said, I came into this game assuming that Marc Staal was going to be rough. I thought he was going to be rough. He's been out for a while. I was expecting him to struggle. And Igor Zamula is still a young player without a lot of experience. And now you are, in essence, asking him kind of to carry the pair. It was a recipe for disaster, and it was a disaster. Like, I tweeted this out in the second period, and I still kind of hold to it. Like, I'm not saying that the entire reason the Flyers are losing this game is because of the Staal-Zamula pair, or the Zamula-Staal pair, I guess is the better way to put it. But it was kind of most of the reason, because both the goals at that point, the third goal, I believe, was Sanheim and York, but that was more, I think, on the forwards than it was on the defenseman, that particular play. The first two goals the Islanders score are both with Staal-Zamula on the ice, and both with Staal-Zamula not showering themselves in glory. It was rough.
I love, like, I put together a Google Doc, put notes in it, and then Charlie adds his notes throughout the game, and then we build our outline. Charlie just writes, Zamula Staal pairing, fucking yikes. It's the first note. That's it. Like, it's just like fucking yikes.
Tell me I'm wrong.
It was not good, and you can survive stuff like, and this is where I guess we have to do that. How are we assessing them thing again? Like, okay, let's keep giving Zamula a chance because he's a guy who might be part of this. We'll see. He's been struggling. Yep. He's been up and down. He started to raise his level a little bit, but this is that roller coaster he's been on since the first 4 or 5 games, maybe.
I would say,
I will just not be. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to be shocked when he ain't in the lineup on Friday.
No, we would be justified if he gets sat.
He
didn't play well.
This is not well, Morgan Frost had 3 points in 3 games and then didn't have one, so now he's out again. Okay, it's torts.
Yeah.
This will be a justified. Listen, man, other guys are playing better than you.
Yeah, like this is just how it goes. And it's funny because the argument of should Staal have been brought back in, like, to me, I think
he's going to play eventually.
You got to bring him back in at some point, I think. I do think that there's value you might be able to get from him at the deadline. At some point, you got to play these guys. They healthy scratched him the first 2 games. He was cleared this past weekend. So really, this is the 3rd opportunity they've had to bring him in. To me, the question was more, and again, this kind of goes back to the idea of short-term versus long-term. The short-term best move, if you're going to bring Staal back in, honestly, would have been scratch Zamula, keep Belpedio in, and let Belpedio, who has been playing pretty solid, like, let him be the guy who kind of carries Staal around a little bit. Not that Belpedio is any amazing player, but he's not a young guy. Like, I would have trusted him more in that role, making up for some rust on the part of Staal. By the same token, Belpedio isn't part of the future. So I don't really have a problem with them saying, like, you know what? Let's see how Zamula does with the responsibility of having to carry a pair against a heavy forechecking team like the Islanders. Let's see what he does. Well, we saw what he did, and it wasn't good. But it's more information.
But they found out.
They found out.
It's just another data point, and I see this being a theme now. Like, what are we actually evaluating? Are we evaluating what makes the most sense for them to get in the goddamn playoffs in 2024? Or, listen, nothing really matters till Mishkov gets here.
Right.
Like, it's going to be that back and forth now, which is, it's more interesting than just, all right, let's try to project guys 3 years from now.
Yeah.
Like, it's more interesting than that. They've given us that at least.
It seems like they're closer than we thought they were 2 months ago.
The fact that a loss annoys me is nice.
Yeah. It's progress.
I watched a game tonight, and I was hoping for a better game, and I'm kind of annoyed by what I saw, especially early, and feels good for it to, like, matter a little.
Yeah, that it eats at you a little bit. It's not like you were angry after the Sharks loss, but that was on principle. That had nothing to do with the Flyers.
If the Phantoms had lost to the Sharks, I would be just as upset.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, the Oilers 2 days later lost to the Sharks and then fired the head coach that has the best winning percentage in Oilers history. That is a team that once had Gretzky and Messier together in their prime. They won 5 cups in 7 years.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, anyway, I do want to talk about something now that's a little bit more fun.
Okay.
Farabee and Brink, bro. They're fucking great.
They've got it going, man.
And you pointed it out. Tonight was the Brink makes that nice play to get the puck down low to Farabee, who does what he's supposed to do, goes to the net, puts it in. 5 goals in 10 games against Sorokin for Farabee.
He's the only guy who knows how to beat him.
Yeah, he needs to pass some of that special sauce around to everyone else.
Exactly.
But I looked some of this up. Thank you, Hockey Reference Stathead. Good shit. It's the 9th time they've recorded a point on the same goal this season. 9th. Of Farabee's 8 goals, Brink has an assist on 4 of them. They're all primary assists. That's half.
Yeah.
That's 4, 8. Yeah, half.
Yeah. Look at you doing math.
Farabee, everything's 50-50, man. Farabee has 3 assists on Brink's 4 goals. 2 of them are primaries. These dudes know where each other are and set each other up. Like, not only do they put each other in position to do what they do best.
Yeah. They're just 2 cerebral players, which is, it just seems to click. Like, Farabee's a little bit more of a pure goal scorer. Brink is a little bit more of a pure passer, but they both can do the opposite. Like, it's not like Farabee can't pass. It's not like Brink can't score. We saw that great power play shot that he ripped on Sunday. Like, they both had the ability to be dual goal scorer and playmaker, but they both do have a lean. Like, Brink is going to lean pass. Farabee is going to lean shot. And I think that might be part of the reason why it works so well, is that they just think the game similarly, but not so similarly that they're redundant.
It's amazing what happens when you have guys who have complementary skills. I know we just did this yesterday. I'll never get over it, Charlie. I will never get over wasting the prime of one of the best passers I've ever seen by giving him another passer and no one.
And no one, yeah.
I'll just,
line chemistry, baby.
We live in the now. And listen, maybe you're thinking, I got to get out to see these two together. Like, this is something maybe worth getting in on. Brink and Farabee.
Yeah.
A dynamic duo.
Appointment viewing. Actually.
Appointment viewing. Maybe you want to get out and see them live. I say you should do it Friday. You should do it Friday for that Black Friday game, 1 o'clock puck drop against the Rangers. And if you're going to, you should do it with Game Time. Great anticipation there by Bree to get that up before I even started. Buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you, with killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Game Time is the place for last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And the Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. This it's so nice to have a little bit of talking about that 110%. You know, that's found money right there. Bobby Brink to me is so exciting because, listen, I had high hopes for him because he had such a good end to his college career. Right. He's an excellent player, scoring a ton. Then he comes up right away, and he didn't produce a ton of points out of college, that little tryout.
He had moments, but he looked like a half step behind.
To me, he looked like he belonged, and it was like, okay, this is really something to build on.
Yeah,
he looked like he was going to play, and then he has the injury, and his AHL season, it goes to shit. Listen, he produced some points because he's good, but no one was sure. Like you've said, he was skating with a limp.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we didn't know what we had in Brink. He makes this team out of camp, and we're still, well, is he just on a heater, or is he a good player? This feels like found money to me, and I just want to keep enjoying. Like, the Bobby Brink experience is the most enjoyable part of this season for me so far.
I don't disagree, and I think, like, look, we've talked about what Torts likes, what Torts doesn't. The fact that he benched Brink was a little bit concerning. I suspect that, like, the fact that he puts Brink back in for Sunday's game and he immediately scores, like, that's the kind of shit that's going to endear you to John Tortorella. Like, yeah, you know what?
This is how you respond.
Yeah, like, I put you back in and you immediately step up and take advantage of it. Like, that's the kind of shit that's, like, it's just going to get you on John Tortorella's good side. I did love the K-Red. The nickname for the duo is Silly Gagne and Slow G. that is good. That is really good.
Silly Gagne and Slow G. That's not bad. That's not bad. Not bad at all. I got to what did I want to do next? Oh, so the Owen Tippett thing, I guess now, because we're talking about a couple of guys.
He had a good pass on the York goal.
He did. We're talking about a couple of guys who do seem to have great chemistry. They're constantly factoring into each other's goals. And this is what gets me to an actual post-game mailbag question. We got this after I had already put aside all the questions for yesterday's mailbag episode. So I wanted to get to this today. And it's about Tippett and Morgan Frost. It's from @207Steel on Twitter. He says, so Owen Tippett is scoring at a 30-ish goal pace overall, but a 50-ish goal pace with Frost in the lineup. If this continues, could Tippett's agent tell Briere We want 40 to 50 goal money. Torts' childishness shouldn't cost my client money. Now, Tippett's 4-game goal streak did end on Sunday. Coincidentally, Morgan Frost not in the lineup. Tippett does not score tonight. Again, no Morgan Frost. There might be something there. We thought we saw some good chemistry developing between those two last season. Frost has assisted on 2 of Tippett's goals this year. Frost has only assisted on 6 of Owen Tippett's 34 goals since last season. He's only been on the ice for 3 of his 7 goals this year. They've been involved in the same goal 3 times. Like, to compare, Atkinson and Tippett have recorded points on the same goal 6 times this year. Like, Atkinson having much... Owen Tippett is a goal scorer, and it's going to be up and down because, as we always say, goal scorers are streaky.
They sure are.
This is a coincidence. That's like the fact that he scores when Frost is there and doesn't score when he isn't is purely coincidental.
So here's the thing, though. Is it a coincidence or is it the power of friendship? I mean, we're going full Yu-Gi-Oh here.
I like how I'm the one bringing logic and reason to this conversation, and you're like, yeah, but maybe they're buds.
Maybe they're just buds. You know what? Vibes matter, Bill.
You know what? Watching the goddamn Phillies, I guess there's nothing. You know, Garrett Stubbs is not good, but having him around makes them good. So perhaps it's a thing. Do you think there's something more to the Brink? The idea that they're going to demand 40 to 50 goal money because that's that's silly.
No, that is.
But
and I think even our guy 207 Steel knows that.
I don't think he's being completely sincere with this question.
There, I gather.
I would guess. But is there something more than the raw scoring numbers that I'm providing? The chemistry, maybe Tippett is at his best with Frost for some reason.
I mean, if anything, I think it's less about Frost individually and more about the fact that, like, you want to put a goal scorer like Owen Tippett with a passer that Morgan Frost is. I think the solution here is not necessarily that Morgan Frost needs to be joined at the hip to Owen Tippett. The solution here is maybe they should prioritize getting more good passers. Hopefully Bobby Brink is one of those guys that can stick in the lineup for the next 10 years and be a quality playmaker and be a, 40 assist a year guy. That would be awesome because I think that's his ceiling. But as of now, he's a developing young player, and he's a developing young player who I think we're all excited about. I think I would say most people are more excited about Bobby Brink than they are about Morgan Frost at this stage. So
while we're talking about this group of guys, because like I said, the first 10 minutes, the Zamula and Staal pairing, those are probably the reasons they lost.
Yeah.
But through 50 minutes, like I said, all of the young guys who have kind of been the catalyst so far to the good start, they were kind of non-existent.
Fair.
Now, Islanders, it's like playing a different fucking sport. Like, you're going to play all your games against teams that play another way, and then here's this team that's playing 1995
You're going into Lou world.
Big surprise. Like, they're going to play 1995 hockey, and
right.
it's like who was the knuckleballer the Phillies couldn't hit from the Mets?
R.A. Dickey?
Yeah, it wasn't even that they couldn't hit him. It was that for the next week, he threw them off, and it was like, you know what? Honestly, tank this game. Don't even try. That's how I think about the Islanders sometimes. Like, you know what? Fuck it. Dress the Phantoms tonight.
Yeah.
Just so we don't get in this mode of this is how you... But, the young guys didn't show up tonight. Forster, what have you made of him thus far? Because he's been playing well. He finally broke through scoring. I believed that getting the one was going to lead to more. Now, he could have a hat trick on Friday, and the conversation is now over. It hasn't led to more.
No.
What's up with Forster?
It's an interesting question, and it really just goes back to how patient you're willing to be with him, because I get the sense very much so that he is endeared himself to Tortorella to the point where he is now one of Tortorella's guys. That Tortorella is going to go to bat for him because he just loves the details in Forster's game. He really likes the approach that he takes to the game, that he didn't allow the long scoring drought to mess with his details. If anything, he made the details better. Like I just talked earlier about, like, I think Brink endeared himself to Torts by scoring his first game back in the lineup. I think Forster endeared himself even further to Torts, and Torts loved him last year too, by the fact that he didn't respond to not scoring by starting to cheat for offense. He just cleaned up his details and made them even better. And it's like, man, we really got something here. That said, he needs to score goals. Like the guy, we're now, this was his 18th game of the season, I think. 17th, 18th, something like that. I think he only was out one.
He sat out the opening night and he's played every game since.
So this would have been game 18 for him. He has 1 goal in 18 games. Like that.
Ryan Poehling has more.
That's low for a fourth liner. Not even for a guy who's been in your scoring top 9 from the start.
No, we're not talking about Nick Delorier here.
Yeah, it's concerning. We've reached a point now where we're coming up on the quarter pole of the season.
While it's early,
it is concerning.
While it's early, 25% is not an insignificant chunk of the season. We can keep, and it's going to, how we assess them, it's early. We can keep saying it's early, and eventually it's going to be Christmas.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be New Year's, and then it's going to be the All-Star break, and then it's going to be the trade deadline, and what if he has 4 goals at that?
Yeah.
Eventually you do have to live up to expectations. This doesn't change what I think Tyson Foerster is going to be, but it is a little bit of a disappointing start, even though he's done the other things well. That bodes well to me because I assume the scoring's going to come because it has for him at every level.
You would think.
And if he does all the little shit, I saw a Tortorella quote today, and it was like, I knew he was going to score, and I thought all the little stuff is what we were going to have to coach him on. And it's like, he ain't scoring, and all the little stuff is what I have no worries about.
Yeah.
And it's surprising, but it's what's keeping him in the lineup.
Yeah.
I guess that's good, and the scoring will eventually come, but this is a team without a ton of top-end talent, and while it might not be fair for a guy who was drafted in 2020 to be counted on, he's being counted on, and he hasn't produced to this point.
You do wonder if they will reach a point with him. And I don't even think it would be a punishment. But you do wonder if they might reach a point maybe in December if he's sitting on 2 goals. If they just tell him, look, we want you to go down to the AHL for 2 weeks, score 6 goals.
Rip a couple, yeah.
And then we'll bring you right back up. But we just want you to start feeling good about your shot again.
Remember you can do it.
Yeah.
Be reminded of your own ability because what we saw last year I don't think was fake.
No, I don't think so either.
I don't think you can just step on the NHL ice and do what he did and then it's he's not really that. I mean, I get we've talked about Ryan Poehling, and he did it in his first. But this wasn't one. This wasn't one phenomenal game.
No, he played really well that entire stretch.
He was awesome for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
and maybe it was just. But I'm not losing faith in him. But I am come on, man. Other dudes are showing me shit.
Yeah, you're doing the stick poke. Do stuff.
Do stuff. I want to be excited about you. It's really just my own entertainment. I want to be as excited about you as I was a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
That's what it's coming down to.
And as I said, I wonder if it will reach a point where, again, not a punishment, but more just say, we want you to start feeling good about your offense again. So go down to the minors for 5 games, rip a couple goals, and then we'll bring you back up. I wonder.
In this hypothetical scenario where Foerster is a phantom for a couple of weeks, does that make Morgan Frost a lineup lock, or is Ali Lixell or someone of that ilk coming up?
I don't think Morgan Frost is going to be a lineup lock this entire year.
No.
I think he's going to spend the entire year, unless they have a deluge of injuries, I think he's going to spend this entire year on the lineup bubble.
I'm springing this on you. You have no idea I'm going to ask this. It might be total bullshit.
I can't wait. Can't wait to hear this one.
Saw a little bit of a rumor today that maybe there's something, and we talked about this a couple months ago, a deal that involves both Morgan Frost and Shane Pinto. God knows what the other moving pieces
that
would
popped
be.
Up again today.
It was something that was out there today. I don't even remember where. It might have been Friedman. It might have been IMakeStuffUp.com. But I saw it today. So
the Pinto situation's weird now because he's not even available.
Suspended forever. Yeah. But it would clear up a numbers problem for the Flyers. We don't even
because Pinto can't play.
We don't even have to account for this guy for 21 more games.
That's a good point.
So yeah. I wonder if there's something there. But if you hadn't heard it, we can just.
I hadn't heard anything.
We can
look.
Yeah.
The last I had heard about the Morgan Frost situation was that the Flyers, the people in the front office, still believe they can find a way to make this work, and that they're trusting that Torts will not bury him forever, but give him the opportunity to earn his way back into the regular rotation. I just have my doubts that he is ever going to be able to do anything to fully win over John Tortorella.
You know how it was a last show or two, whatever it was, where I compared Torts to Santa with his 2 lists? someone might need to have the Santa Claus conversation with the Flyers front office if they still believe that Morgan Frost is going to be a part of this thing. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's you might be believing in something a little too old.
I'd like to
age.
think they can still find a way, but as every day passes, I get less and less confident they'll find a way.
I'd like to believe I can still make it in the league, Charlie, and I haven't played since I was 18.
Oh my God, that is okay. I'm sorry. That was a really funny comment. Barry Schaefer, John Turturro went Vince Vaughn and told Wade Allison he'll never be Steve the Pirate from Dodgeball. Dodgeball is one of my favorite sports movies ever.
Really?
I love it. I do not think there has been a movie that has skewered ESPN better than Dodgeball. It's incredible.
You and I love so many of the same sports movies, and I'm not going to disparage the great name of Dodgeball. I'm pretty sure I probably saw it in theaters opening night, but I just would not have put that in your upper echelon.
I think it's easily top 10, potentially top 5. It's up there.
We are going to have off-season shit about sports movies.
Oh, 100%.
We're gonna
have a lot of content to fill.
We don't have nearly as many off days as I accounted for in my head this summer. So we're going to have to do a lot of stuff like that. I think sports movies are going to be a great thing we do. Something great we are doing Friday, Black Friday, the 25% off Black Friday sale at PHLY Locker. If you spend $75 or more, you get a $15 gift card for future use. Listen, we have one shirt. There is one Flyers shirt on the PHLY Locker. I need you people to sell it out. I need that thing to be hotter than like a heavy slime, whatever. Yeah. Like whatever the hot shit is in town. We need the Bobby Clark Flyers shirt to be the number one center on PHLY, number one seller on PHLY Locker
and center.
Yeah,
although I don't think he's topping Jason Kelce at this point.
It'd be tough.
It'd be real tough.
And no one tops him. But I need you. I am begging you. You have supported Charlie and I for like a decade now. You have to continue doing it. There's no rest for you people. We would buy the Bobby Clark shirt.
We would very much like to have more shirts for you guys. We need to prove we can sell. So
all the hockey fans out there, you know what it is to love hockey the way we do, and just be kind of. I love everyone here, but you know what hockey is? It's the fourth sport, and the Union are good, so it's like the 4.25 sport. You know that feeling. We don't want to have that feeling here. This is PHLY Flyers. Support PHLY Flyers. Buy that goddamn Bobby Clark shirt. You're probably not supposed to curse ever in ad reads.
Whatever.
But like,
you know what? It works.
It's
on
my
this
company.
One. It works on this one.
It's the company that employs me. Like, it's fine.
Amazing.
You all know what I'm saying. All right. So that's that. How much else do we even have about this thing?
Yeah, well, we had Sean Couturier tied Eric Desjardins.
The Couturier thing.
That's kind of cool.
This is something I wanted to talk about. He's now alone in 9th place in games played. And they said, like, by the end of the year, if he remains healthy, he's going to be 4th behind, like, Clark, Giroux, and Barber.
Wow. That's crazy.
I mean, if you haven't had I'm getting too old for this shit thought in your head yet, the idea that Sean Couturier, who I remember being at that rookie showcase game, man, him, Matt Reed, Braden Shen, that whole group. Wow.
Well, so here is the list of the games played list. Okay, so first, actually, you know what? Let's play a little game here. You know what? We got some time.
All right.
So I spot you, Bob Clark. Bob Clark's first. Who's number 2?
Is it G?
It's G. G with 1,000. Remember 1,000th game?
He had 1,000 even. Yeah, that was pretty
1,000
sick.
even. Number 3 is a guy you already mentioned a little bit earlier.
Mr. 420, Bill Barber?
Indeed. Number 4, this was a little tougher. I'll give you a hint, 80s.
80s. Man.
He was at one time a broadcaster on the radio.
I am so bad with the 80s.
I don't want there to be dead time, so I will give it to you. It is. It is.
I'm like thinking, and I don't think well.
It is Brian Propp.
God damn it.
Prop is 4.
That was an easy one.
Then number 5 is someone who is currently a podcaster.
Currently a podcaster for the Flyers.
We watched him play regularly.
Who has a Flyers podcast?
Yeah, what other Flyers podcasts are there?
Me and you. That's it. Todd Fedoruk? No, Riley Cote is who I even meant to say.
Chris Therien.
Oh, God damn it.
Chris Therien.
That was a freaking layup.
That was a layup. I thought you were going to get that immediately.
I was a fucking Chris Therien fan.
So Chris Therien, 5th place.
I'm not going to get the rest of this list.
6th place, Joe Watson, the alumni game dominator, even in his 80s.
Yeah.
7th, tie with Bob Kelly and Rick McLeish. 9th is now Desjardins and Couturier tied for 9th. On Friday,
he will
assuming
be
he
in
plays,
place
he will have 9th by himself.
I can't believe, just because of multiple stints with the team, like Recchi and Tocchet are not up there.
It is surprising. But no, they are not in the top 10.
Tocchet was going to be my guess, and I was like, no, that ain't right.
Yeah.
But I've been playing Immaculate Grid like the last week.
Really?
And I am so bad at this. I cannot think on like for a person whose job is like vamping, I cannot think on my feet like that. I can tell you what I'm thinking. I can't like decipher information quickly. Like horrible at Quizzo. I go to my wife's Quizzos and people are like,
yeah, Ava does Quizzo.
Yeah, she's like, well, you drove here with her. You have to know the answers. I'm like, I've heard this around 3 times, and I have no idea what. I have no idea what 40% of the questions are.
Amazing.
It's just absolutely ridiculous. You know what else is ridiculous? How awesome our friends at FOCO are. That's right. FOCO is the absolute best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. Whether you're looking for team apparel for the season ahead, they've got overalls, hoodies, hats, sunglasses, bags, anything you need for game day. Or maybe you're in that market for some accessories, toys, or collectibles for your man cave, she shed, or podcast set. You've got to use FOCO for all your team gear needs. FOCO always has our back for Philly sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in our description for all non-presale items. Use the promo code PHLY10 for 10% off at FOCO. And I have finally found my replacement for how cool the overalls are. Overalls are still Mount Rushmore. They're probably number 1. They have these reversible, they're called hoodies, like EEZ.
Okay.
And they're kind of like the big blanket hoodie things, but they're a little lower cut and they fit more like a hoodie. Okay. They are very sick. I'll
check them out.
Probably going to order myself one on Black Friday. There's a real good chance Bill buys himself
I will take a look. I may do the same.
They're also reversible. Okay. So it's like one side looks like
it seems like a cool idea. So
one side looks like a jersey. One's more like looks like pajamas. So they're actually kind of
multitasking.
Cool.
Yeah, multi-use, multi-purpose.
Once we get to, you're going away on that West Coast trip.
I will be. I will be going on the trip to Phoenix, Denver, and Nashville.
West Conference trip, not West Coast.
Not West Coast, but out west.
Western Conference.
Going to the West.
I will
go west, young man.
We might be doing some late night post games.
Could be.
I might be wearing a hoodies for one of them.
All right,
or a couple of them. They also have pretty cool PJs you can check out as well. But all that is available at FOCO, and I love them. Listen. No off-center shirts there.
Much better than those guys.
Do we have anything else on this one? I mean, it was a game in which I had a lot of micro takes, but it was the mostly take a step back and remember where we're supposed to be.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
There's going to be a game like this.
I think you can.
I don't want to absolve them.
No.
Play better, but what, are they going to win 10 in a row?
I think you can look back. The further this game goes back in the rearview mirror, you can look back and you can say they played well enough to win. They maybe didn't deserve to win, but they played well enough to win.
They didn't suck.
They didn't suck. They weren't terrible. They played well enough to win, and they faced a team with one of the best goalies in hockey who played like one of the best goalies in hockey.
And that's... Again, I don't want to say they got goalied. Other shit went wrong.
And also,
but
this is the Islanders' entire strategy.
If a league average goalie is in, they could have played just as well and won.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even if they didn't, maybe they didn't deserve what. The Islanders are not very good. They were better than the Flyers tonight, at least on the scoreboard. They played 50-50 with them-ish. Sometimes you lose.
Exactly.
I can't get up and I'm sorry I don't have an entertaining as hell 20-minute rant like I did after the San Jose game. I wish I had those every night, but they've earned a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, and I can't say 19 games into the season I expected that.
Yeah, it's fair.
All right. And that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers tonight. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone who joined us. We will be back for you With Friday's post game, remember, it is that 1 o'clock matinee Black Friday puck drop, so it'll be like a 3 o'clock post game or something, 3:30, something like that.
4 o'clock, something
and
like
then Saturday, New Wave Cafe. Be there for our watch party. Flyers Islanders rematch of the century, 2020 bubble playoff revenge time.
We'd love to see you. Love to see you.
Would love to absolutely see you. Have a couple beers with you. I'm told Kelly's going to be there as well, so there will be at least one woman there. I just assume like our listenership is 98.5%.
I don't think that's fair. I think we actually have a good cross section.
Do you think we have that kind of appeal?
I think we do.
It's those, you got to take off the hoodie and get the guns.
It's because
you got to get the guns out.
We have a lot of women and potentially also like non-binary people who love hockey, who follow our podcast.
I know they exist. I just wonder if they're interested in our show. But if you lose,
I think you need to give yourself a little bit more credit.
If you lose that hoodie and show off the guns, I think we can up those numbers. But thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. My name is Bill Matz. For Charlie O'Connor, happy Thanksgiving, Philly.